Hey everyone, and welcome back. And we are making a mica based soap today. We are using blueberry, Neptune and Arctic White, which are all from the Soaposh. And this is our big box mould that we are using today. So it's going to make kind of a big slab of soap rather than a loaf of soap, which is what we normally do. I just thought it'd be a little bit fun to try a different design, a different technique, and this box mould was the best one for the job. Welcome to our channel. My name's Anne, and along with my good friend Wayne, we run this YouTube channel, and we also run the Sussex Handmade Soap Company, which is a small bath and body business based in the southeast of the UK. So for the last few videos, we have been doing predominantly natural colorants, little business tips, things like that. I thought it was time to have some fun with the micas. Today, I am going to try and create a soap that we can chop up into little squares. You will see I've got my template underneath, which actually is irrelevant for today's soap, but there'll be squares about that sort of size. And we are hopefully going to get a nice swirl on top using kind of the clamshell technique with a little bit of swirly pores, things like that. So shall we get going and show you exactly what I'm talking about? Because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to show you rather than standing here trying to tell you. So I'm going to begin today by preparing our lye water solution, and the full recipe and amounts that we've used will be in the video description. It's just a little bit easier to pop it in the description rather than trying to remember quantities and numbers whilst doing the video as well. So check the description for the amounts that we are using of everything here today. The lye is sodium hydroxide, and we are going to add it slowly into our water. You always add the lye into the water, never the water into the lye. And I've obviously got on my goggles, my gloves, my closed-toed shoes and my long sleeves for doing this. I'm going to slowly stir it until it dissolves. Then I'm going to pop it to one side over in my sink, and I'm going to let it cool down to around about 100 degrees. The lye will be very hot, so be careful. It is also caustic, and it does give off some fumes that aren't the nicest to smell, so stand back when you are stirring it. And if you are sensitive to smells or fumes, by all means, wear a mask if you wish to. So after my lye has dissolved, I'm going to move on to working with our solid oils, which you can see just in here. It is our standard recipe, so cocoa butter, coconut oil and shea butter. I'm going to take them over to my hob where I'm going to slowly and carefully melt them down. And after that, we are going to add in our liquid oils to them. So with the helpful heat of the hob, our solid oils have become liquid. And we are now going to add in our liquid oils, which are olive oil, castor oil, and sweet almond oil, pouring them down into the now non-solid ones just to combine. And then we are going to take a temperature and hope that we are around about 100. 93.0 degrees Fahrenheit. Might raise it up just slightly, although that is pretty much where we want to be. We'll raise it up just slightly, and then we'll move on to the next step when the lye is ready. So our oils are now at around about 95 Fahrenheit, and our lye water is very slightly higher at 97. We're going to slowly add our lye into our oils. Then we're going to use our stick blender to bring it to probably just past emulsion, but not at trace, because I would still need to add in our colours, and I don't want our batter to be too thick today, so we are going for just past emulsion. And then we're going to split it down into 3 jugs of relatively equal portion size. So split down by eye, because there was no real reason to do it by weight, into 3 jugs. And as you can see by looking in this one, we are at emulsion, but we are not yet at a trace or anything. We are now going to add in our mica colours to our batter. Going in first with the blueberry to hopefully give us that beautiful dark royal blue colour. Going in next with the Neptune, so our paler contrasting blue. And lastly, going in with our Arctic white, which honestly I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to the colour of the batter, but it was more so that when I blend them up, they've all had an equal amount of mica, so if it's going to thicken them at all, which it shouldn't, but if it does, they're going to thicken to a equal amount, and I'm not going to end up with a thinner batter and two thicker ones to work with. We are now going to whiz them up with our stick blender. No, we're not. We're going to do it with our spatula first, and I'm just working the colour in with the spatula just to disperse it a little bit before we go in and use our stick blender. Just because I don't want to blend them too much, because I do need the batter to stay relatively thin for today's design. That'll do for that one. There's still a few little bits, but they will be fine. They will get whizzed in when we do move on to the blender. Messy as usual, splashing the powder out. There is the blue one. So turning a very pretty blue colour. And again, just very roughly working it in to begin with. And now into the blueberry, which is almost a kind of purple blue colour. And my idea is that these three colours, the dark blue, the pale blue and the white, will complement each other really nicely in our finished soap. Right, they are all worked in now, so I will give them all a little blend with the whizzy thing. What's it called? The stick blender. Thanks, Wayne. I will give them a quick blast with the stick blender to get them to a light trace. So now we've got our jugs of soap all whizzed up to the correct consistency. I've got a smaller jug, which I've just marked some little lines for reference for where I want to pour up to. And I'm going to start by filling with the white, roughly up to where I've got my first line, which is about there. And I'm going to take my pale blue and I'm going to pour down one side of the jug. Let's move this one out of the way. I'm just going to pour down this side just until we come up to my second marker, which is about there. Then I'm going to get our darker blue and I'm going to pour again down the side just until we come up to that third marker, which I think is about there. Now we are going to grab our mould. And now I have got our mould, I am just going to slowly pour from the jug into the mould, and whilst doing so I'm going to gently shake my hand from side to side. I'm going to start in the centre, I think. Just going back and forth, back and forth. Obviously at the minute the darker blue isn't coming through, but it will do, so we don't need to worry about that. And as you can see, it's just creating a very pretty little, what effect would you call that? I don't know. A very pretty rippling effect. Thank you, Wayne. Let's move over here now and just ripple, 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 back and forth. And you can see why you need the soap batter to kind of be exactly the right consistency to be able to do this. Too thick and it wouldn't pour, too thin and all the colours would run into each other. So this is a little bit of a pain doing this technique. But when it works so nicely. Right, we're going to refill the jug. This time, let's go from here. So again, back and forth for those ripples. And straight away you can see all three colours coming through this time. The darker blue, the lighter blue, and the white. I'm going to add in a little bit more dark blue because the lighter blue and the white are predominantly coming through. So you can kind of add more as and when you see fit. If you notice one or two colours are much more predominant, do top up with more of whichever colour you need. And continue. And I think I'm just going to let this fan right out, hopefully to the middle, to meet up with that swirl on the other side. This is a real mix between being incredibly relaxing and satisfying and also being incredibly stressful, because obviously you want it to work, you want the pattern to do what it's meant to do, but also it's really relaxing just sitting here, fanning it back and forth and watching the patterns develop. And if the batter starts to thicken in the jugs, which it will do, then just give them a little stir and hopefully that will bring it back into life. Working at a lower temperature definitely helps in terms of keeping the batter fluider for longer. That's why we are working at a lower than usual temperature today. Now, where do we need to fill up? Let's do this corner here. And it is a shame that that really pretty swirl at the bottom there is going to get covered up. I'm hoping it's going to get covered up with a swirl that's even prettier. Temperature definitely plays a big part trying to do a swirl like this. You wouldn't want to do a swirl like this with warm batter that's going to thicken quicker. Oh, look at that, just sort of fanning out. I'm going to try and get into this centre bit here. If you wanted to choose a scent for this, make sure you choose a scent that doesn't accelerate trace. So you are looking for something that is going to keep the batter nice and fluid. Definitely don't go for anything like a rose or absolutely not cinnamon. That would not work whatsoever. Last little bit down in here, fill up that corner. Right, I'm going to give it a little shake and tap down at this point in time, just to get it level. Refill the jug, and oh, let's go here. You see, the quicker I go, the finer those ripples seem to become. And the thicker the batter gets, the higher up I'm holding the jug as I pour, just to try and make sure that the batter goes all the way down into the jug for pouring. And you can see now the batter is starting to thicken, how it's not flowing in quite the same way that it did earlier. It's not got quite the same fluidity, but we're still getting some swirls. Now let's give it one last shake and a tap down, and there we have it. That is the swirls done. The jugs are nearly all empty. I say I've got a little bit of excess in the pale blue, but the white and the darker blue are empty. So that is the swirls as they stand at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is get the lid of the mould, and I'm just going to leave it overnight to firm up. Then we're going to come back tomorrow, unmould it, chop it up, and hopefully have lots of different kind of rippled effect bars. I am expecting we will get a little bit of soda ash on this. Unfortunately, working at a lower temperature and with the higher amount of water, which were both needed to assist with the fluidity of the batter, does mean it's more prone to soda ash, but we will cross that bridge tomorrow if and when we come to it. Oh, little bubble of air. I'll see you tomorrow. So it is tomorrow, which is now today, and we are going to unveil our soap. And this is what it is looking like now. And as you can see, we've been quite lucky. We haven't actually got any soda ash on there. I did spritz the top of the soap with isopropyl alcohol after I had made it yesterday and after I had stopped filming, just because that does help a little bit with combating soda ash. Let's get it out the mould. Often the hardest thing to do. Right. There we go. Get rid of this now. And we shall carefully try and pop it out of the silicone liner. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like on the underneath as well, seeing what kind of swirl we have got coming through on the underneath. There we go, that is out. So not the biggest swirl on the underneath portion, kind of looks like a big slab of blue marble. Liking how it looks, let's get it marked up for cutting now. So because I haven't got one of those lovely big slab mould cutters, I do have to do this with a ruler and a knife, which is incredibly annoying. This soap is actually roughly 32 centimetres by 24. The 24 side's easy. I'm going to split that down into 6 centimetre portions. The 32, a little bit harder to work with because only 4 and 8 would divide equally into 32. I think 8 is going to be too big, 4 is going to be too small. So I'm going to do them 7, which will leave us a little bit left over at the end, but that's fine. It'll just be slightly smaller chunks of soap. So I'm going to start by using my knife to just mark where the 7 centimetre lines are. So 7, 14, 21, 28. So this last few centimetres here is what we're going to lose. It's just going to be the smaller chunk of soap. And going down the other way, I'm going to mark off 6 centimetre sections. So 6, 12, 18, and the last one's 23.5 because the soap wasn't quite, sorry, the last one is 5.5 because the soap was 23.5 in total, not quite 24. That's going to be minimal though. So now I have marked out my little guiding lines. I'm going to use the ruler to carefully mark where I want them to cut, so just a fine cutting line. So there we go, all lines marked out. Let's get into the cutting. And this is going to go wrong, I just know it is, because I cannot cut straight for anything. Wayne generally cuts our soaps when we do have to do it like this, purely because I cannot cut straight. No matter how hard I try, it just doesn't work. And I may, after I've done this one, actually ask him to come in and do the rest so that we hopefully end up with bars that are relatively straight and even. That's not bad for me. Could be worse. Right. I'm going to chop up the rest of these. You guys don't need to see me doing that. It's going to take me a little bit of time and precision to get through this, so I'll come back when they are all chopped up. So I've cut them all up now. I'm actually pretty happy with my cutting for once. I've gone relatively straight. Of course, I had to do something I wasn't happy about. When I said we were going to have excess, I had looked at the soap, worked out what was the worst side, and I was like, we'll lose that side as the excess. Then, of course, I cut it wrong. So all of my little bars are actually the ones with some of the swirls that I really like the most. I meant to leave that as part of the larger bars, but I cut the wrong side off. This, for reference, was the other side with swirls that aren't nearly as nice, but somehow I got confused, cut up the ones that were the nicest swirls, left the ones that I didn't like as much. But I can't do anything about it now. What we are now going to do, as you can see where I have cut them, they have got slightly rough edges. And that is partly because I cut it upside down. That's why the top is not looking so nice. But that is okay, because what we are going to do is actually use a potato peeler to bevel the edges just to give them a really nice, what's the word? Not smooth finish. I want it to look, oh, there's a word for it. Not aesthetically pleasing. I don't know what the word is, can't think of it, but they're going to look good. That's what I'm trying to say. It's really going to finish them off. So with the potato peeler, all I'm doing is just taking off the edge. And I'm going to do this on all sides. So along there, down this side, along this side. Then we are going down the sides, all four sides. And then turning it over and finishing along the bottom sides. And we get some nice little soap shavings there. And this is what the soap looks like when the sides have been beveled. So I think side by side, we can all agree that this is a much nicer finish than this. This is one of our slightly smaller pieces, so it's not accurate, is it? There you go. One beveled, one not. So as you can see, just doing that with a potato peeler makes such a difference to the actual final look of the soap. I'm going to bevel the rest of these now. You don't need to see that because it's just going to take ages. So I'll be back when they are all, hopefully, looking something like this. So many minutes later, and I have finally managed to finish beveling all of the soaps and just take a look at all of these different swirl designs. And I just absolutely love how all of the bars are slightly different, but they are all equally as attractive. I have got a couple of favourites, but they are all looking really, really pretty, and the beveling makes such a difference. I think you can really tell how much prettier they look with that beveled edge there. And the word I was looking for when I couldn't think of it, I think I was saying it's kind of like a cubist art deco kind of feeling to them. Those very kind of sharp edges that just really pop and make the soap really stand out. I'm still a little bit disappointed that my favourite swirls are some of the ones that ended up in our tiny soaps just because I cut it the wrong way round. But looking at the others, I definitely can't complain. It's hard to pick a favourite. If I had to, I think I would narrow it down to, it's too hard to narrow it down to one. I love this one. And I love this one. Oh, but then I also love these two as well. It's really hard to pick a favourite. And you can see how when we first had that big slab of soap, it looked pretty, but it didn't necessarily look amazing. But these, now they've been cut down into individual bars, I think each one is kind of stunning in its own little way. And this is all the soap shavings I ended up with from all of that beveling. So there's quite a few. I'm tempted to actually keep these and work them into a future soap because they have got, if you take a look at this, whoops, that's one on the carpet. So many different shades of blue and colours of blue in there. And I think if we could work that into another soap, it might be quite a nice way of using them up. We wouldn't be able to sell the soap in the UK with these shreds inside it like that, but we can use it for a personal soap for sure. There we go. Overall today, very, very happy with how they've turned out. I think they are really pretty, really attractive, tactile little bars. You just kind of want to pick them up and just stroke the little beveled edges. I hope you've enjoyed the video as much as I have. If you have, then please do consider subscribing to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you find out when we release more videos. Leave us a comment as well. And if you really, really enjoy our channel and want to consider supporting it so we can buy more ingredients and things to experiment with in future, then you are very welcome to buy us a coffee. And all the money we get from Buy Me a Coffee goes straight back into the channel just to support us with buying new ingredients and fun things to try and do. Yeah, so happy with how these have turned out. Actually better than I thought they were going to, and that doesn't often happen. So yeah, very happy. And I will see you guys next time for something else soap related. Have a lovely weekend. It's weekend for me now. It might not be for you, but have a lovely day and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.